I just got home from dinner with my father. I thought I should make a video diary about it. It's been 39 years of sacrifice. When I was 5 years old, 39 years ago, my parents got separated because my mum had an affair. My dad had a broken neck at the time from rugby. He was sitting in a chair, having to sleep upright with some kind of neck thing holding him up with a neck brace. And flowers arrived at the house from the guy my mum was having an affair with. There was a breakup situation happening that my 7-year-old sister and my 5-year-old self didn't really understand, but my sister knew more than me. She thought it was never going to resolve. Next thing I knew, I was in Hawaii with my mum's American boyfriend, my sister and my mum. And I said, "When's Daddy coming?" And she said, "Don't you understand? He's never coming back again." She trained me to make sure that I never felt happy. Next thing we're at Disneyland, I was going, "Yeah, I love Space Mountain or Haunted House or whatever else." And she reminded me that it was important not to have any happiness. I didn't understand what she was talking about. She's always the naughty one, right? Always having a blood nose from the stress. Just bursting capillaries with her stress. And I gradually, slowly started sacrificing my happiness to make sure that we weren't happy while people we loved, our parents, were not happy, right? My sister made sure they didn't kiss, my mum and her affairee. She was always smacking them and being naughty and stuff, right? Naughty as in defensive, trying to get the family together. Really, it was a lost cause, but she trained me hard to be a little soldier and fight. She was my older sister. I did what she said. I fought with her as well. I scratched her and hit her, and she hit me as well at that age. But the bigger picture was keeping the family together by any means necessary. My father eventually found a girlfriend. She had a kid as well. I continued my sister's fight, trying to stop them from kissing or having any kind of happiness together. And that little kid who was about a bit younger than me, actually, I was the youngest, and he became younger than me. And I thought, it doesn't matter. My mum's already had a boyfriend with 3 kids in it as well before I ever met these people, because that other first one didn't work out, the American. And but I mean, we lived together for years and stuff. It just, everything's longer. A month is worth 3 or 4 years in grown-up time because of the amount of new things you see within a month as a 5-year-old, right? Anyway, I had forced myself every night with praying to God and Jesus and all the other fucking bullshit, who never answered, of course. But also I made sure I squeezed all the people who had ever died that I knew, and all the other people who were starving around the world, and all the other things I could think of, animals dying. I didn't really know too much about the prospect of becoming a vegetarian at that age. I became a vegetarian at the age of 12, just from my developed sense of not wanting to harm the innocent. But yeah, forcing myself to feel more and more the maximum amount of emotional pain a human being could experience. My mum would always hug me and say, "Cry, darling, it's okay to cry." And my sister, who I thought was on my side, I was on her side actually, because she was like the captain or whatever. I was doing whatever she told me. But then she'd grown out of it because I'd already taken her job, and she was like, "Oh, cool, don't have to worry about that anymore. He's going to deal with it." And I did, ferociously, screaming and fighting and clawing and biting to try and keep my family together, even though they've been apart for a couple of years now and so on. But that just continued, right? Did well at school and so on. Didn't matter, I was irrelevant. Different type of my life. You know what I mean? School and family, separate parts of the brain, like French and English sort of thing. All right. So, home life. Screaming, shouting, fighting. The big clincher that made me really commit to really holding the family together was when we drove off for the first time. I think I was 7 or 6 in the back of my car with my mum and my sister and the box of our stuff with the little teddy bears sticking out of the box. And my dad had kissed us all and hugged us goodbye. And I waved out the window and I looked out over the back towards where Daddy was waving and crying. Right, I saw him break down in tears, right? Because he wasn't crying when he was talking to us. But when I saw him break into tears as he walked back into the house, which we were now all leaving, we'd come back on a shared basis, weekends and whatever. But that heartbreak that I could see he was feeling made me devote my life and my entire existence to this one cause. Happiness is selfish. Do not ever feel happy. Maximize your pain at all times. And I did. To honor his pain. Fuck these cameras. Anyway. I'd rather be up framed like this, but if I walk in like that, it'd get me there. So at this height, I end up there. Fucking anyway. So I devoted my life to pain and suffering, self-harm at the highest emotional level. You've probably never heard of this before, have you? Neither had any of my psychologists, psychiatrists, or any of the people who fed me an endless stream of drugs with sleep therapists and all sorts of tens of thousands of dollars worth of mental assistance before being diagnosed at the age of 28 or whatever with some kind of psychosis, instead of trying to address the whole idea that I was being loyal and stuff like that. Because the pain and suffering just snowballed into extreme, like by the age of 13 when my testosterone started kicking in, any sadness and so on was coupled with extreme rage, especially given that my father was not seemingly recognizing what I was doing for him, right? And my sister was like, why are you always so miserable, badly behaved and so on? She just abandoned me, right? So that made me double my efforts. I was like, how dare you? You have to come back. I'm doing this by myself now. She didn't give a fuck. She was getting along with the new stepbrother more than me. She loved him more than me. Worst nightmare come true, right? Even now he lives with my father as well. As well as with his girlfriend or whatever. Anyway, he's 41 now. So years and years of extreme pain. I couldn't get his attention with pain and suffering and screaming. Begged him to listen, to give me closure, to let me off the hook, to somehow give me some kind of understanding, some kind of credit, pat on the back, anything for what I was doing, the deliberate self-harm as a kind of a whatever fucking crazy shit I was deciding the reason for this loyalty had to be suffering in myself, because he just went and got married even though I said I'd kill myself, and on that day I'd nearly died from attempted suicide. He didn't give a fuck. He tried to visit me a few times. I refused to see him, and then he tried to drive me over in his car. He's a cunt, but worse than the word cunt. The word cunt is like, it's delicious, right? He's a fucking... He deserves a chainsaw to the pinky finger to start. You know what I mean? Violence, in my mind, has leapt ahead, leaps and bounds over the years. I've imagined the level of payback he deserves. In the meantime, when face to face with him, I'm civil at all times. I have to be civil with other people, because if I cry to them about the pain that I suffer through on a daily basis, even like right now and tonight and tomorrow, and I'm awake often for 65 hours at a time because of this, it hasn't stopped since I was a kid. I smoke because of it, thinking that he'll care now if I try to force cancer on myself, give up school, quit school, you know. I ended up finishing, but I only attended 5% of the last year of school. 15%, they passed me anyway. It was all fucked. All of it. Fucking fucked. Anyone I spoke to who thought they'd experienced depression, I'd listen to their description of things. It was like, oh, I feel sorry for you. Nobody I've ever met has experienced pain at the level I've experienced it. I could take any snippet, any slice of my existence, except for moments I'm in the throes of ecstasy, fucking somebody, potentially, aside from those moments. And I could just put it on a scale beside anyone else's extreme suffering the day their mother died, and their suffering would have been like fucking nothing. That's how continuous my suffering has been, and is now even. The best thing I've done is try to forget and keep myself plugged in with headphones, with screens constantly flashing before my eyes, even as I live in complete isolation. I saw the fucking prick tonight for dinner, civil. And I said, can you give me closure now? Don't bring this up now, right? It's annoying to him. Annoying. Don't you bring this up here. Do you understand how that's not fair? Thrown up, self-harmed myself while he's been drinking and partying with friends and everything. His whole fucking last 39 years, he didn't give a fuck about my feelings. It was just outside appearance behavior. He's got me. My IQ is beyond 148, all right? I have dumbed it down and presented it in a little bite-sized chunk for him from time to time, so he doesn't have to think. Just give me closure. All you need to do is understand my perspective, put yourself in my shoes for a moment, just for a moment, please. Because that's just a requirement to get to caring. And from caring, you go to remorse. You understand that you are the cause of your own child's anguish that's been going for fucking nearly 4 decades. How you could not want to hurt your own self at that point when your innocent child has sacrificed his entire existence for you as the father. What kind of a mad psychopath, with approval from everybody, by the way, his evil bitch cunt wife, and I probably said that to her face after she said, well, no wonder she broke up with you the way you treated her, after I'd just been standing on the fucking train tracks in front of the train and been taken by the cops in handcuffs for my own suicide watch protection the day before, right? And been held in a mental cage. And then we go out as a family, right? And she says that to me and I throw water in her face. And after that, my stepbrother's like, no, you're a cunt, right? To me, right? He's since gone through his own mental shit, but hasn't turned to me to try and get a handle or go, oh my God, that's the level of suffering you're experiencing. I got a taste of it. Now we can relate a little bit. I can relate to what I was going through. He could say that, but he didn't. He's barred me. So I live alone. Occasionally I see my fucking prick father I've destroyed my life for, deliberately. But to stop self-harming after all those years, at any stage would have been, oh, I've already been doing it for 5 years, what about 10? He didn't even stop to think why I would become a vegetarian. Even that level of, like, looking at the little baby lamb and then looking, delicious. He'd make fun of it and shit, right? He didn't give a fuck ever. No compassion at all. All he thought my vegetarian was doing was making it harder for my stepmother to cook a nice meal for the family. That was his entire thinking. And I have, look, you don't have to worry about the word IQ, but you can tell that I've got some intellect here. Even though I fucking turn things into comedy and shit occasionally to deal with it. Because it's a fucking joke, the unfairness of the world. The fact that he can have any friends at all, and the fact that he can live with himself even. If I had a pet dog or any other type of pet, but imagine it was a dog, because everybody loves dogs unless you're a cunt. And I saw it whimpering outside the door as a puppy. And instead of opening it up and thinking, oh, he must be cold, putting myself in the puppy's paws, right? His shoes, his paws. Let's let him in and let him snuggle up on the couch. Instead of that, I would think, that fucking dog, if it doesn't shut up, I'm gonna fucking belt the fucking, where's my belt, right? For a puppy, and then for the rest of its life, it's just whoosh, out there by the kennel and its chain, fed the worst, disgusting scraps of rotten food you don't like anymore. Right? But you occasionally give it a nice big deal, a big dinner, a delicious dinner, and watch it sitting there all fucking crippled and shit by the chain. It's like, are you grateful? You grateful? Yeah, I'm good to you, aren't I? I'm good to you. And look at this nice kennel I've made for you. Yeah, just remember that, right? Remember it. The moment I'm free of this chain, I will bite your throat, you cunt, right? Of course I'm not grateful. I wish you'd killed me years ago. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? You can't torture somebody 99.9% of the time and then give them a gigantic gift once in a while. Oh, here's your school education. You happy with that? You happy with that? I gave you your fucking schooling. You're gonna be ungrateful? Self-harm. It might show up as little scars here on people's wrists and whatever. The mental scars I've never seen. You can maybe see bags under the eyes and shit. That's about it. A lot of it can be reflected in lack of sleep potentially that lasts for 20 years or more. Extreme suffering. If you can't detect it, I mean, you might not have known the person long enough, but if you know somebody well and you don't know they're suffering extremely to the sort of level I'm describing, though I must say I've never met anyone who's suffered to the same level as me, ever. This might sound like I'm trying to boast. Okay. Somebody who's missing their legs or arms, blind, go through some serious accident and they're never going to walk again. That sort of shit, that would have an effect on your mind. Especially if the person who crippled you is highly acclaimed and loved and nobody even talked badly about that person from the day they drove over your legs onwards. He didn't mean to do it, he was just drunk and he was driving his car. It's not his fault. Leave him alone. Cripple. You know what I mean? The injustice. Anyway, I live with this on a daily basis and I contain my rage. So that's why when you see me saying bring it on to people who send me death threats through this fucking thing, you know I want them to try to kill me. Because I want to die, number one. And two, if I get one opportunity to unleash the anger within me, I will gladly break any cunt who comes close. So, this isn't like a, come on cunt, right? This isn't that. It's, I need somebody to hear what I'm going through. because I am alone. And I'm so glad that I can talk about fucking hair. I can assure you it's not the center of my existence. Being treated nicely on the surface by passers-by and so on, it's better than being mistreated by them. But the people who matter the most matter the most. Unfortunately, it's hard to switch it off. If I don't get closure, and I told them, I said, listen, you're once again refusing to give me closure. This is the end. You're never going to give it to me. He said, shh, you're embarrassing me in the restaurant. This was his big thing, right? No, I said, listen, my life will begin. Like he says, why don't you have a wife and kids? You're fucking old now, right? I said, I can't have a relationship. My childhood isn't finished. Give me closure so I can move on. I beg you, right? So just stop this nonsense, right? There is absolutely not one part of him that will ever feel remorse for what he's done to me, what he's doing to me right now. He blames me for complaining about it. I said, my life will begin the day you die. He's just thinking, all right, cut him out of the will, cut him out of the will. I said, I don't give a fuck about money. He didn't say these words, the will and shit. I said, money is not reparations and shit. So he said, okay, so I'm the biggest cunt in the world, the biggest cunt. I said, yeah, worse than the biggest cunt. Cunt, the word doesn't even begin to describe you. You are the most evil man I've ever known. I have no idea how you could live with yourself knowing that you're causing your son such extreme anguish on a daily basis, and you've always known it. My mom has spent thousands of dollars on my treatments and shit, right? And you've done fucking nothing except raise a glass and cheers everybody around you and fucking go and play golf and do all the fun things, succeed in business, and wondering why your son's such a fucking loser. Despite all the begging and the angry eyes that I give him occasionally. Behavior. If you look at your child for that alone, I will gladly slice your fucking throat. You have kids, their feelings should be above your own.